6% in 25-26. More heartening still, the manufacturing sector had registered double-digit growth in both 23-24 and 25-26. After a long time, this reaffirmed our aspirations to be one of the strongest pillars of India's economic resilience and national confidence. We would have been looking at a higher growth in 26-27 with strong sense of confidence. In fact, India's economy was enjoying a Goldilocks moment of high growth with low inflation. But then came the 28th of February 2026. Almost overnight, the mood of reassurance gave way to one of deep anxiety. The destruction of energy installations across the Gulf region cast a sudden dark shadow over the global economy. Further, the near total disruption of maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz sent tremors across the world. Trade flows got disrupted, supply for oil and gas plunged into a situation of extraordinary uncertainty, driving energy prices. After all, about 46% of India's crude oil, 55% of natural gas, and 94% of LPG imports came from West Asia in 24-25. About 65% of our nitrogenous fertilizers also came from that region. Input costs and risks both have increased, especially for sectors dependent on imported inputs. What started as a nuclear threat became all about a narrow stretch of water, which has now opened as dramatically. Whether this is a temporary reprieve or permanent, we can all guess only. I mean, everybody's guess is as good as everybody else's. But concerns and uncertainties remain about its fall through. It is important to know how comfortable is the government on our macroeconomic parameters, because the help and support that the business fraternity can expect in critical situations. We are extremely fortunate today to have the privilege of sharing of wisdom by none other than the chairman of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, Government of India, on the uncertainties surrounding the basic macroeconomic issues. Sir, we would like to take this opportunity also to take your views on a few issues that we consider important for alleviating our in these a perspective plan needs to be developed to prevent such temporary external shocks from becoming a structural loss of competitiveness. A contingency framework like the recent Economic Stabilization Fund needs to be in place to protect the industry if the rupee remains under pressure for long and inconsistent. Assurance from the government that bank credit remains available to industry, especially to MSMEs, if global risk convergence rises and under compulsion of domestic financial markets to become more visible. A coordinated framework to be in place for export credit, foreign exchange hedging support, and working capital relief for sectors hit by freight escalation and currency volatility. Sir, it will be useful if you can share your thoughts on how can we navigate our economy out of such geopolitical storms in the short run and continue on our high economic growth path in the medium term. This sense of direction will help businesses, our members, to recalibrate their strategies and navigate themselves in these turbulent waters towards their growth ambitions. May I request you to also share your perspective on two more issues. Growing private investments, which have been a point of concern of the government for the past 2 years, and the prospects of large investments, especially in this. With these words, I would like to once again extend my sincere gratitude to Professor S. Mahendra Dev for gracing the chamber with his presence at today's session and request him for sharing his values and insights.
Shri Manish Patisya, Dr. N.G. Kaitan, and members. Very good morning to all of you. So let me thank the President and other organizers for inviting me to deliver this lecture. So I heard so much about the Bharat Chamber of Commerce. It's one of the oldest institution, and also congratulations for the 125th anniversary of the institute. So on this occasion, I thought I will share on India's macroeconomy and what are the challenges and opportunities. And I've prepared a PowerPoint so that it will be, time management wise it's better. So what I'm going to do is in the next 20-25 minutes to discuss these past, present and future growth of India's economy. So I'll touch briefly on past and current macro situation and future Viksit Bharat thing. And what are the global challenges, domestic opportunities. And I will also discuss on manufacturing sector, because which the government of India is, and particularly the Prime Minister is also focusing on that. So what are the, again, global challenges and opportunities here? So basically it's an overview of Indian economy, the past, present and future. So if you go back to, even 1000 or 1700, India's share in world GDP was the highest at 24.5%, and China 22%, and Japan, Germany and all about 4% or so. Gradually it came down. At the time of independence, our share was 4% because of British Industrial Revolution, and also at the time of independence, and then you see USA 27%. So these are some of the factors for decline in India's share in world GDP. One is Industrial Revolution and British rule. And at the time of independence, all of us were socialists. I mean, everybody was socialistic ideas thing. And even Mahalanobis model focused more on heavy industry. So it missed the labor-intensive manufacturing. And even we didn't concentrate on quality of basic education and health that time. So we had 3 decades, 3.5% growth. But by the end of 1970s, many countries in East and Southeast Asia introduced economic reforms. But India did only in 1991. So so after 1991, we had, which was 3.5% in 3 to 4 decades. We had now 6 to 6.5% growth. They're not able to see.
Would request everybody not to use their mobile phones, please.
Yeah. So India missed 2 chances since independence. One is policies in the first 3 decades, no focus on labor-intensive manufacturing, and even human development we didn't give that much importance. And second is we are late by 15 years in liberalization, because Southeast Asia, China and others introduced reforms in 1978 itself. But of course, growth rate differs from one decade to another, the 6 to 6.5% after liberalization. We had several crises, East Asian crisis, financial crisis, COVID and all. So, but we have come out of the shocks. and Indian economy is resilient. So current macroeconomic situation, I'll tell, the India still fastest growing economy, and we will withstand the present shock of war also, which now today is ceasefire. Today actually I've selected a good day, so the ceasefire happened, and the whole sentiment has changed now. So, but even before that, I was more, positive about the Indian economy. So GDP growth, if you see the new series, the average last 3 years 7.3% per annum, and fiscal deficit 4.4, debt to GDP ratio, even the combined with states 81%. In fact, it is among the one of the lowest in high debt, to compared to other countries. USA has 125, and China also similar 100% or so. So several other countries more than 100%. So compared to that, our debt is much lower. Even external debt is only 19% compared to many other countries. And current account deficit during April-December 1%, and October-December it was 1.3%. And banking and private sector are in good shape. And as you know, in the budgets, government has been increasing capital expenditure compared to the revenue expenditure. So, as Finance Minister mentioned 2 days back, we have our macro fundamentals are good, and because of decade-long prudent fiscal management. Because unlike many other countries, India has fiscal room. Because many other countries, even during COVID, they did fiscal stimulation and all, but we were very careful in that. So our capex, government capex has increased from 2 lakh crores to 12 crores, 12 lakh crores during last 10 years or so. So there is a room, fiscal room, for targeted support to affected sectors and vulnerable groups. And the president was asking me about the, how in future also, how do we have? So government has developed an emergency response mechanism, particularly since COVID, which has helped it respond to crisis since COVID. So even now, we have this emergency response mechanism, which can help, withstand some of the shocks, because shocks will come in the future also. And also some of the steps taken by the government of India during, to stabilize the economy. 1 lakh crore economic stabilization fund, monetary and finance measures on credit, exports and trade, and also energy security measures, diversification, maintaining fuel supply, stability, etc. And also supply chain and import diversification also. We, for example, oil, now we're going to Russia, even Iran, and several domestic stabilization measures. So in March 2012, actually the crude oil price was 130 per barrel. Brent crude oil now is, before the ceasefire was about 100. But if you deflate with inflation, the 130 will be 57. Because with inflation, so what we have now is about $57 compared to 130 that time. So there is above 50% fall in energy intensity since the 1990s with fossil fuel sources. And then renewable energy now accounting for 50% of installed capacity. So I think the monopoly of oil will go down drastically. The power of oil monopolies will fall in future. Oil prices are unlikely to stay high because of alternative sources. Because now most of the countries will fasten renewable energy. And our FTIs can be used more intensively for trade diversification. And medium to long-term strategies can be reduced dependence on few sources, oil, trade routes, and promote renewable, and focus on domestic manufacturing and strategic reserves. So after the war, now my feeling is FDI flows may come to India, including FIIs, may come. Rupee depreciation also will be stalled, and even volatility may reduce, which already something's happened today. Now I come to the future ones and also later manufacturing. So global challenges are well known. I don't have to repeat thing. The twin shocks, geopolitical and tariff shocks in the last 1.5 year. And Washington consensus was there, almost 3 decades, where China benefited from that, compared to, because we are late in the reforms. China, East Asia much more benefited. But now, of course, we have deglobalization and protection, no respect for institutions like WTO. Now the economic survey says that we have now economic statecraft. That means not only economics dominate, but also other political considerations are important. So geopolitical competition, technological dominance, and also supply chains, there is a vulnerability now. But India is playing an important role in global leadership in the last decade and more. For example, in G20, we took a leadership, and BRICS is not going to be this year. India is going to host. And South-South cooperation, now we are planning much more. Coming to domestic opportunities, some people ask me, this 2047 goal of becoming a developed country, how much growth is needed? So some estimates show that we need 11 to 12% nominal growth and real growth of 7 to 8% to achieve this goal. Like people like economists like Dr. Rangarajan says 7.5% is enough. Economic survey says 8% is needed. In fact, the chief ministers of several states have already announced targets of GSDP. For example, UP announced, I think, 6 trillion or something. Maharashtra, 5 trillion by 2047. And several other states announced. I don't know the West Bengal, how much they have done for getting the 2047 goal. What are the drivers of growth? There are several, but 2 are most important: investment rate and exports. So investment rate is presently 31 to 32%. You need to increase more to 34, 35%. And also efficiency in ICOR. ICOR is the incremental capital output ratio, to get 7 to 8% growth continuously over time. So here the private sector investment is critical. You also wanted on private sector investment. So now there is no twin balance sheet problem of the corporate or banking are doing well. So there is no problem of capital availability. If you see the investment rate, in fact, the new series show that 34% investment rate, but fixed capital formation is 32%. So that has to increase more. And where private sector is very important, because the government can do capital expenditure, but government is only small share compared to the total investment rate. Whereas we need private investment to get to the Viksit Bharat thing. So many firms are debt free and doubling their cash on books. So India Inc. has to make new investments, because whenever the industrialists come to me, I ask them why you are not investing. They say uncertainties are or capacity, the demand may not be there and all. But I said for last decade you are saying uncertainty, and next decade also you will say, but you have to make some choice. But how do we finance investment? Savings and foreign investment are they finance the investment. So savings rate also need to be increased. So sometimes they say that deposit rates has to be higher to make more savings, household savings. So financial sector reforms can increase savings and investment, because foreign direct investment may increase, but that is not the main source. It's the domestic savings are important. And the drivers of growth, the second one is exports. Because you all know China and Southeast Asia benefited from peak of globalization, but now we have protection policies. So India's response is threefold to the tariffs, helping the tariff affected sectors, diversifying and speed up FTAs with other countries. Some people use exchange rate also for exports, and for example, China used depreciation of rupee for exports. Because why exports are important? No emerging market of India's size can achieve 7 to 8% growth without strong export growth. So that's why. So investment rate and exports are the main important things. In fact, since 2021, we had several FTAs. You also mentioned that this can increase our diversification and India-US bilateral trade also. Tariff reduction from 50% to lower level. We don't know exact lower level now. So the number of trade agreements, it covered 38 countries now. And also space for MSME exports. It leads to MSME exports also. But however, exports constitute only 20% of GDP. So it's basically 80% Indian economy. Domestic demand is important. So we have several headwinds there. And although as compared to global headwinds, there are many domestic tailwinds. Like, rate RBI is doing, and all the reforms, the Prime Minister is very much interested in domestic reforms particularly. So it can reach to investment, consumption, and some push to exports it can do. So despite global uncertainties, India has emerged as a global bright spot. So government has undertaken several reforms, because these reforms are very important to get signal to the private sector to get more investment. We had GST, income tax, and also labor codes and measures on quality control orders, on private sector and nuclear power, and removal of the quality control order. So several reforms in fact in the budget, finance minister said 350 reforms in last several months happened. So apart from investment and exports, which are crucial, what are the other sources of growth? So you're asking, how in future, what are the things? So I feel that the health, education and skills are important, and total factor productivity. That means more efficiency is important. And we all know that young population with India has median age 28 years compared to Japan 50, 40 in USA and 38 years in China. So we have a lot of advantage if you take care of health, education and also the skills. Another one is increasing urbanization, because that is expected to be 50% urbanization. And urban may account actually even last year itself 70% of GDP. So further increase may also increase the growth. And another one is women's labor force participation rates, because right now the labor force participation of women is about 35% or so. World average is 50%. So if we can raise, particularly in urban labor force participation, it can increase the growth. And similarly, the digital technology and AI also can increase the technologies particularly. Digital technology, you all know the Jam Trinity and UPI. India has done very well digital public infrastructure. And AI is today largely controlled by few countries, but India's AI summit gave, we should have a inclusive kind of AI. So it becomes more public goods kind of thing. So, but there is a lot of debate on AI and jobs. Whether AI leads to more job replacement. But I feel net it could be positive. We may lose some jobs, but we may raise more jobs. So, as mentioned earlier, the share of India in world GDP was 24.5%, which has come down to 4% during independence. But some estimates show by 2043-44, in PPP terms, we may reach that 25%. The 1700 kind of thing, now we may reach. And share of China will be 18% and 11%. So these are the numbers some studies estimated. So we may go our share to about 25% by 43-44, and China 18 and US 11%. This is in PPP terms, purchasing power parity terms. But also we have to worry about the middle income trap. Middle income trap is that, the World Development Report of World Bank said that there were 101 middle income economies in 1960. Only 23 had attained high income status out of that. So India has to be careful not to fall into the middle income trap. So it has to graduate to middle income status and then also get growth rates to get advanced country. Now I come to the last part, the India's manufacturing, the challenges and opportunities. So because for creating quality employment, higher growth, structural transformation is important. Because India, agriculture, for example, has 17% GDP share, but 46% employment share. So there, of course, global challenges in manufacturing are there. Again, this protection and other things are there, geopolitical problems. So this reflects a broad geoeconomic fragmentation, uncertainty in global public goods because of the protection. Even manufacturing is becoming capital intensive and skill intensive. And global supply chains are being restructured now, reshored. And one important thing happened is that in recent years, everybody wants to produce in their country. Unlike earlier, the trade is the most important thing. So advanced countries also now, like US and all, they want to produce. In industrial policy has become an important source now for many countries. So for example, a research paper by Danny Roderick and others, so industrial policies have increased from 56 in 2012 to 1500 in 2022. So everybody wants to have industrial policy and want to produce in their own countries. So that is the challenge, global development challenge now. For example, US launched large-scale initiatives such as CHIPS and Science Act, Inflation Reduction Act, and European Union also has Green Deal industrial plan. So what is changed is that resurgence of industrial policy across both developed and developing countries. It's a significant shift in economic strategy at the global level. Coming to India's manufacturing sector, because since independence, we have not been able to do labor-intensive manufacturing. There is a significant transformation, of course. But recent initiatives like Make in India and production-linked initiatives, some competitiveness and integrating India into global value chains happened. For example, it is possible to raise manufacturing growth and employment. So there is a debate, whether we need manufacturing or services. Like Raghuram Rajan says, services are required more. But I feel that both are complementary. I think you need both manufacturing and services because they have linkages, forward and linkages. And also service sector needs expanded manufacturing. So one is, they are both complementary rather than they, substitutes. Because some of the growth in service sector is also due to expanded manufacturing. So due to global uncertainties, in fact, the Prime Minister mentioned at the Red Fort, we will fasten the domestic reforms on fast track, like ease of doing business and deregulation. At least from the central side, we are pushing this ease of doing business. Of course, state level also they have to do much more. So we have appointed 2 committees on deregulation chaired by the present cabinet secretary and previous cabinet secretary. So they will give the reports, and one is also working on the state level ease of doing business and deregulation. What about PLI scheme? It worked, of course, particularly for mobiles. India is one of the biggest assembler and exporter, and we used to import a lot. Now we are exporting also mobiles. So strategic policies on manufacturing, you are mentioning, the president is mentioning about the Atmanirbhar Bharat and Swadeshi also, because the government wants to have some of the critical sectors like semiconductors, chips, critical minerals, including defense. They want more domestic ones because every time we have to depend on chips for other countries. So it will take some time, but we have to make a starting point. And some people ask me, Swadeshi, does it mean we are going back to pre-1991? But my answer is that it's not that. We are focusing on strategic and also improving competitiveness. And also government always talks about the improvement in quality so that more competitiveness can go. If we see rare earth production, China has 270,000 tons and India has 2,900. So we need to have much more, on some of these semiconductors, chips, and critical minerals. One problem with Indian manufacturing sector is this missing middle. In the sense, we have manufacturing very small size with 10 workers and below, and or very large size. So whereas countries like East Asia, China, they have 200 to 500 workers, much more, the middle. So we in India this is missing, the middle. We have very low level kind of thing or very large things, but this 500 workers and all is much less compared to many other countries. MSME is, of course, a critical role. Employment, government is making on credit. Of course, credit much more has to be done on raising technologies, providing market linkages. But they are also having regulatory environments. That I think committees are looking into that, because there is a lot of representation where regulation, how do you deregulate some of the things. Other goals of Viksit Bharat are, it's not just achieving growth. We also need inclusive growth and sustainability. So approach of government is to include all, women, farmers, and everybody. So somebody asked me, what is inclusive growth? For me, creating quality employment is the inclusive growth, is the most important component. And also, there is a dichotomy in health and education. We have, world-class IITs, education, but at lower level, the quality of learning is not good, including some of the state universities. Similarly, we have super specialty health hospitals, but at lower level, village level and all, quacks and other. So this dichotomy has to be, done. Should be, removed. Of course, sustainability and climate resilience is another one. Because recent political developments brought renewed focus on energy security is central to sustainable development. So our whole goal is based on the net zero emissions by 2070. I don't have time to elaborate on this. On the how do you achieve 2047? India is a federation. So role of states is very important. In achieving higher growth, also inclusive, sustainable, states play an important role. But state capacity is important, because there are a lot of regional variations in state capacity. And similarly, the states, what will happen is that they stop decentralization up to them. They don't want to decentralize to panchayats, municipal councils and all, because a study shows that, in countries like, China, the local governments where most services get delivered, they get 51%, 27% in US and Brazil, but in India only 3% they get discretionary spending. I mean, they get tied funds and all, but so experience of GST Council is quite good, the federalism and cooperative federalism, but other issues also maybe we need that kind of federal councils. Last concluding observations, 2-3 slides. So there are global and domestic challenges and opportunities. Regarding current situation, India can withstand the shocks, whatever even in future, because of strong fundamentals are shielding India. As I mentioned, India's share in GDP was 25% in 1700 and declined to 4%. Now, by 2043, we may achieve that growth. Two long-term challenges is that structural transformation to industry and services, and as I said, dichotomy in health. These are development challenges, and climate change is another challenges. GDP growth is important, but it has to be inclusive and sustainable, because to benefit all the sections, it's important. As I mentioned, inclusive growth means employment creation, and role of states is crucial, because in a developed country and with high manufacturing growth, because one of the British economists, John Robinson, said, whatever you can rightly say about in one part of India, the opposite is also true in another part of India. In a vast country like India, because whatever you say about Kerala, I mean, north is different, east is different, south. So the regional variation, so states are very important. But some of the states, less developed states, will have demographic advantage, like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, even West Bengal, because they may contribute more in economic and social development in future, because the share of old age population in Bihar is likely to be 11%, whereas Kerala it will be 23% in 2036. So these people in Bihar and other places, provided education, skills, and they are provided, then they will contribute much more to the growth. My last slide. So what are the reasons for India's resilience? There are three factors. Of course, political stability, macroeconomic stability, and large domestic economy. Why many countries want to come to India? Because we are 1.4 billion population and large domestic economy. So only concern, of course, occasional shocks like the wars, the tariff shocks and all. But what we want to achieve by 2047 is not unique. I mean, many countries, Japan, Germany, Singapore, they went through, they have achieved. So we are not saying, which is not achievable, we are not saying. We'll be able to achieve that goal. So to conclude, in the last, since 1947, India has achieved many things. So we have to keep these achievements and move towards a society and economy that is not only prosperous, high growth, but also inclusive and pro-nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dev, for your very insightful and calming presentation on the macroeconomic situation of the country, and the fact that we have the capacity to to have resilience against odd disruptions that are coming our way, and there is the business can hope for because of this macroeconomic stability in the country to plan their businesses. Some of the trends that the professor has mentioned are quite insightful from, to gauge the direction in which businesses can be looked at and things like that. So I think this is very important. So, before our interactive session, I would now request our immediate past president and chairman of the 125th Anniversary Celebrations Committee, Dr. N.G. Khetan, to make his observations, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sir, as you rightly said that we were late. We got independence in 1947 and we started economic reforms only by 1990 onwards. And this 75 years were wasted, because if you take Japan, which was devastated by on the Second World War, and the way they had grown in a span of 20 years or 30 years, look at the China that a point of time our GDP and China's GDP was the same, and they had grown astronomically in last 30 years, unbelievable pace. Is it not a country, we may be the fourth largest economy in the world today, but it's still not the country of have and have-nots. That's the issue. The issue is that it's one of the youngest country in the world, and being the youngest country in the world, it is the duty, responsibility of any government to ensure the well-being of young generation. The recent report says that 50% of the graduates, 50% of the graduates in this country are unemployable. Sir, I'm not saying employed, I'm saying unemployable. 50% of the graduates in this country are unemployable, that is, they are not getting the job which they deserve to get. 1 in 4 Indians are neither in education, nor in employment, nor in any training. This is a very sorry state of affair as far as the Gen Z is concerned. Are we a happy country? Is it not? I think everybody in this country wants to be happy. Happiness comes from prosperity. To have a good education, to have a good health, to have a good food, all these facilities to be provided for. Now, unfortunately, out of 147 countries, India ranks 116th in the rank of happiness. Why I am saying so, not from a negative point of view, sir, as you rightly said, that we have the best of universities, but those are limited. We have the best of hospitals, which are limited. We have the best of schools, which are limited. You must have heard of ECAL, which runs over 1 lakh schools all over the country under the tree, in the villages with one teacher. We support them, and the monthly cost of supporting one school is 30,000 rupees per annum. That's the situation of education in India. What do we need to do? As you rightly said, we need to provide the basic facilities and basic amenities, which you are doing. Our social sector is providing health insurance, our social sector is providing basic food, we are providing housing. Uh, if it is so, then why people are still not happy in this country? That's an area to ponder about. So as you rightly said that urbanization gives 70% of the GDP. Yes, because in the rural area there is no way that the development has taken place. People are still uneducated, people are poor, there is small land holding. So we have to work hard and work very, very hard. And this working very, very hard is to ensure that our young population and our young generation are properly educated, properly skilled, and properly trained. This is what is, I think, is the most important aspect is concerned. The other area which I wanted to go to is and this is something which, sir, really puzzled me, that our ranking on social support, when I say social support, it means that one who can count on somebody else at the time of need. Unfortunately, we rank 123 in the world as far as that social support is concerned. That means the concept of joint family which was there, where the support system was there, the families are breaking. People are, the young generation, the people are going away from their place there where they are staying. People, as you rightly said, urbanization, people, the elder people who are living in village, they don't have a support system because there is no job or opportunity, their childs have gone. Similarly, in the urban areas, people are going to different cities in different areas, maybe out of the country. The workers are going to different countries because diaspora is taking place. So therefore, this is also one area where the support system is not there for the people. The other area which we feel is a very important concern is the capex by private sector. And if you look at the capex by private sector, sir, I have a figure on that. This year, 2026-27, it is going to fall down to the extent of 16%, and it is going to be in the region of 9.55 lakhs crores. What do we need to do to see that the private sectors really start investing? You are doing your job and you are doing great job. I mean, your capex as far as the government is concerned, it's a great job you are doing. You are spending a lot of money on the social sector. What do we need to do to boost the private sector, to give them that kind of a confidence that yes, there is no uncertainty? As you rightly said, that the feeling is that there is no uncertainty. Can we make a situation which is a certainty? Why do we need a tax law which needs to be changed every year? Why do we need a law which require amendments every second month or third month? You have established tribunals in relation to each and every branch of law. Sir, recently, sir, the Chief Justice of India, I'll just come, that in every aspect, why I'm saying, in each a branch of law, and the Chief Justice of India recently, 3 weeks back, went on to say that the tribunals are the liability for judiciary and the headache for the government and are completely unaccountable. You know, sir, what I don't need to say, but you know how the tribunals are functioning, what is happening in the tribunal. The corporate sector, according to me, sir, is bleeding. The corporate sector is bleeding because of the tribunal. I think we need to look into something very seriously as far as that how do we ensure that the private sector, we give necessary support, and we say to the private sector that we will provide you everything what you need to do investment in this country. Why do the net worth individuals have to now, if one person in the family or two person in the family has to settle out of India? Why are they so uncertain that they feel that no one person in the family need to go out of India and settle? Why are they so shaky about India? Why should they be? I mean, it is the fastest growing economy in the world. You have the fastest growing GDP in the world. You have the largest one of the largest consumer market in the world. Uh, uh, we have to look at the positive side of it. So if the recent report says that the way we are growing in the next 4 years, sir, in the next 4 years, your per capita income would be $4,000, which will be, if you take the per capita income on the basis of PPP, if you take, then your per capita income would be in the range of $10,000, in the nature of, if I say, the more, if not like a developed country, but one of the developed, like middle income country or more than a middle income country, because they have a per capita income of $30,000 or $40,000. But then you will be earning 10 to $12,000 by 2030. I mean, that is the way we are growing. But we can grow faster and faster. I mean, we are thinking of being a developed economy by 1947. And if you have to be a developed economy by 1977, I said the younger generation has to be made happy. The younger generation has to be made employable. The younger generation has to be provided all the necessary facilities so that they really feel that we belong to this country, and that there are enough opportunity to us to not only to go into service, but as far as the enterprise is concerned. You see, enterprise is also very important. We want them to go into the enterprise is concerned. And I think that we need to look into the private sector, that how do we ensure that the private sector gets necessary confidence to do business in India. That confidence is not coming, sir, because if I may say so, simple, sir, if I know, we are saying ease of doing business, just take GCC into consideration. You take the state compliance, the local compliance, the central compliance. We have over 2,000 compliance in relation to GCC today. 2,000 compliance in relation to GCC. This is the state. I'm not a critic. I'm a supporter of this country. I belong to this country. I have seen this country where we used to manufacture 50,000 cars, and today we are manufacturing over 4 million cars, private cars. What a transformation, sir! Unbelievable transformation. We are one of the most powerful military power in the world. We are the largest growing economy in the world. But we need to take care of our private sector, sir, and we need to take care of younger generation. I thought, sir, this was an opportunity. You are there as an advisor to the. I thought that these two areas, sir, needs to be looked into. I can go on and on, but I don't want to say so much. But I think, sir, these two areas needs to be looked into. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Khetan. Now,
sir, one more point which I thought when I speak ex tempo, another figure which I have is not the factories or establishment run by the central government, but today BJP controls over most of the states, and today 383 government-run companies are doing nothing. They are just closed, not doing anything. At least something can be done in relation to those companies, because you are actually there in almost all the states. I thought I will take also to inform you about that.
thank you. Now we open up for questions that members may have for our guest speaker. So yes, we start with Mr. Achyut Chandra, Chairman of our MSME committee.
We will collect and
Yes, we all questions and then we will respond.
Sir, taking a bit leaf from Dr. Khaitan's speech and also what you said. 50% you're targeting urbanization. Now, we as the unemployed level, if we are transition from the rural to urban level, I have been partly working with the agriculture where you said 46% is employed by the agriculture sector, and my assessment indirectly it goes up to 61%, directly maybe 46. But where in your macroeconomic planning we are still stuck with 17% of our GDP in with agriculture, whereas my personal assessment is we are having a 30% approximate wastage, and we don't have a value addition to agriculture. Now, if we get into the, since we are claiming to be world leaders, last year second highest was Holland with only 17,500 square kilometer, $111 billion on agricultural exports. So which means is the value addition they have done. And we are having, I guess, about 17 lakh 50,000 square kilometers. Our export is not to be mentioned, it's not worth mentioning. The government started with an agri bill that was okay, but I never believe in government can be in business. So, is there agriculture can be a result, or it can be solution to what Dr. Khaitan is saying is the employment of the young generation. Because the new generation distance in our generation, I tell my son that you are fortunate, we were fortunate that we didn't compete with people to get into IITs and joint ventures and all that, because only urban people managed it. Today, distance village kids, because of Digital India, they are scoring in IITs and all the top exams. These kids are not going to get into agriculture unless we make it in an industry. So my question to you, is there a planning of the government for reconciling the unemployment, and in what sector?
Thank you, Mr. Chandra. Any other questions? Would request you to keep your questions short so that we get enough time for the speaker to answer them elaborately. Yes?
Yeah, my name is Ramalingam. With respect to the professor, the learned professor, so the important question is here, it has already been touched by Mr. Khaitan. 2047, you say we should be a developed country. What is the per capita income in US dollar terms, which you are targeting, considering that the per capita income of developed nations today is anywhere between 28 to 55,000 US dollars. I'm not taking about the oil-rich countries like Kuwait and all. And my second question to you, the current account deficit was only 1%, as you mentioned, in April, December 2025, yet the currency is reeling. Maybe it benefits exporters, but it is affecting all the importers and the other people who import. These are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your good questions. Yes, I'm coming.
I'm Professor Panchanan Das from Calcutta University. Thank you, Professor Mahendra Dev, for your good presentations, precise and illuminating presentation regarding the economy as a whole in the perspective of current situation. So I am wondering on two basic issues relating to macro and development strategies, one relating to growth, another relating to employment. And you are rightly pointed out, manufacturing and services are complementary in nature. But if we look at the growth trajectory, so we can find a huge gap in growth rates between manufacturing and services. So is it possible for the services sector to pull up the manufacturing? Because in growth theory, particularly put forward by Karl Dodds, it was thought that the manufacturing as an engine of growth, but situation has been changed today. In India, we are experiencing service-led growth, many people call it. So is it really service-led? Can service sector lead the other sectors to pull up or push up like that? This is one thing. Another thing, in discussing the development strategies, we should focus something on the employment issues. And in that context, you are rightly pointed out the upward trend in the female labor force participation in our country, and it is clearly visible if we go through the periodic labor force survey data. But if we just look into the issue in a little bit deeper manner, female labor force participation has been increased, no doubt, particularly during the several different waves of the PLFS, but not in the earlier employment-unemployment survey. It was downfalling, then uprise. So U-shaped kind of behavior we have looked at. But if we go through the change in the women's employment, so we can find that the wage employment decreased among the female workers, particularly the casual wage employment. To some extent, the share of regular salaried workers among the females increased, but majority of them are concentrated on the own account workers, and among them are the unpaid family workers. So my question is, the Viksit Bharat, the main focus of the government of India, how do this policy program can reduce this kind of gap? Just that one.
Thank you. Mr. Prajanand Chaudhary from Anand Bazar Patrika.
Thank you, sir, for your very informative presentation. But you know that from your presentation we get a very good picture. And you know that very often we get the figures that from the released by the government are very encouraging. But you know that a few days back, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, they have raised they have questioned the authenticity of these figures. So far as growth figure is concerned, so far as inflation figure is concerned, they said that, and they put India, so far as growth figure is concerned, in C grade. And so far inflation is concerned, they have put India in B grade. That is just the one grade of the last one. One grade upper of the last one. And you know that I heard from one of your, the officials in a meeting. They said that the calculation of inflation, the basket has changed. Importance the items bought. And a few days back, Mr. Khaitan just said that in the new basket, the importance of food has been reduced, and it is said that the general mass of this 147 population, they do not spend more on the food, but they more spend on mobile, more spend on gadgets, more spend on cars. Is it the real picture?
Thank you. Time for two more questions. Mr. Udit Mukherjee from Times of India.
Good afternoon, and thanks for your brilliant presentation. So I have just one small question about today's RBI monetary policy. There is a growth projection of 6.9%. So considering the global headwinds, what is your take on that? Whether it will be achievable or would be even more, considering that today there is a ceasefire, temporary though. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we'll keep this as last two questions, please. Yes.
Myself, Sanjay Agarwal, Chairman EIRC of Association of National Stock Exchange Members of India. We were just having a look at the charts where we saw that the GDP growth was in the 80s. It was around 20%. Then it gradually went to 15%. Now it's around 4% of the market share all around the world. You must appraise that in the 80s the population of India was around 60 to 70 crores, and now the population is more than 140 crores, and we are leading the world in this. So don't you account the unnecessary growth in population, whereas there is no measure, no proper media, nothing, so that we can control the population. And like when we are saying that in 2047 we will again be coming back to the 24% mark, it's very leaves us all in a doubt that how will we achieve it with the current growing population rate.
Yes.
I'm Hari Modi, representing National Stock Exchange Members of India. My question is regarding, sir, that we were having a few questions regarding the stock market. Is that securities transaction tax was introduced way back, and when it was told that it was long-term capital gains would be exempt if the securities transaction tax is, but now we find that the securities transaction tax is also remaining, and the long-term capital gains is also being taxed. So this needs to be looked into, because what we are promised we are not seen later on. So government needs to think about that. And one more last question is that over the last 5 years we are seeing that there is a continuous outflow of FIIs from India. Last year they have sold about 3 lakh crores of in stock market, and it is only the domestic people who are providing support to the market. So why are not we seeing as to how they can come into the market when we are looking FDI in insurance and FDI in other sectors? So we need to look into that also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Last one from Professor Dr. Subrata Kumar De.
Yes, thank you, Professor Dev, for your interesting deliberations. Just one question, because we universities were produce a large number of engineers actually. But one of as part of our new education policy, that is, we have implemented, we are all universities, we are implementing this new education policy. That is, one of the things is to produce skilled manpower. That is very much essential for manufacturing sector, etc. But as per that is, we are producing engineers, but internship, which is very much important, and industry should come forward. But there is not a very much synchronization between industry and universities actually. Though we are trying our best, we are going to the different industry, that is for internship, etc. But there should be some uniformity and synchronization should be there, so that those we are producing we are giving the degrees, but when they want a skilled manpower, in that some discernation is there actually, not such unison is there. I think this area should be looked into. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you for all our interesting comments and very good comments. On Dr. Kaitan's thing, I mentioned actually many of the things in my presentation. We lost 4 decades from 1950s to 80s with 3.5% growth, and per capita income growth was 1%. So when the liberalization started in 1991, then per capita growth was much higher. But you can't expect these 4 decades lost immediately with the present government or the previous government to increase 20% growth. I mean, we can't have. So why I presented that, because many people ask me, sir, you are saying 4th largest economy, but our per capita income is still 160 rank or something thing. But this is the reason, because why China's rank is higher, because they could fasten from 1970s onwards, and 1960 we were same. So the reforms have started much earlier. So I mean, in fact, that also considers the last question on population. The China also has equally a population, but their per capita income is much higher. So so we lost this. We have to run faster, as he mentioned also now, because some of the indicators. Even I mentioned the health education also. We didn't give importance at the time of independence, unless I mean, whereas other countries they invested much more, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and all. So particularly on primary education, we didn't give that much importance since the independence thing. So that dichotomy, the government is now looking into it. About the global indices, in fact, Sanjeev Sanyal and others have done. They think that they are not correct. Global indices. I mean, there is a paper by Sanjeev Sanyal. Saying many of the indices, I mean, freedom and those kind of things, are not appropriately done. Even hunger index, because hunger index is more if you see the components, they're all not related to hunger. So some of the things, but still we are behind in some of the other indicators. So we have to move faster. Even on joint family system, I think we are much better than I've been to other countries. I mean, my daughter lives at US. We see the difference that the joint family. I mean, still much better here. Neighbor can at least in the villages or urban areas also, some kind of cooperation is still there. I mean, it is declining. I mean, that is over time. But I think the systems are much better in India compared to many other countries, even on the social front. Inequalities, it is there. I mean, everywhere, in any country, if you see inequalities are there. So what can be done on inequalities? Some people say we should tax the rich, super tax or something. But I don't think that is the right approach, the taxing the industrialists or the rich. But I think two things I mentioned in my presentation. One is the quality of employment and also the education. Because in fact one sector can transform India and lead to Viksit Bharat is the education sector. That if we can keep it right, the education sector. So these, I think, we say inequalities of opportunities. So health, education and employment, it creates opportunities for the, the what you call K-shape kind of people to come up, the demand. That's also important to reduce inequalities because it also leads to higher growth. Because if they, the lower deciles, they spend more compared to the rich save more. So that way inequalities can be reduced if you create the employment, including the youth you mentioned. The youth unemployment is higher throughout the world because generally it is 3 times the general unemployment, the youth. Because in India, if you see the figures, it is not, unemployment is not there among those who are poor and all, because they do whatever kind of work. In fact, some economist said the poor are too poor to be unemployed because they do any kind of employment, have a shop or tea shop or some things. But the educated wait for better opportunities. So the educated unemployment is the highest among the thing, and among the youth also educated, because they wait for better opportunities thing. So if you can see the PLFS numbers, you don't have, unemployment is very low among the poorer deciles, but it's more educated. And on employability, it is true that 50% or, but that comes with the skills, and also Professor Day was mentioning about the linkages between, the university and industry, which, other countries, they have much more linkages. So that can increase the skills. So what kind of skills are needed? For example, now with the AS thing, if you don't have skills, you are unemployed. So I think skills is very important for employability point of view. So we are behind because the on per capita and all, because the first 4 decades we had only 1% growth compared to now 6% growth in per capita. On the private sector, the government, particularly Prime Minister, is very interested in these reforms to attract private capex, the thing. Of course, feedback from industry is very useful. Some of the things mentioned here, they also represent to FM and other things, the other people. So that we are doing our best to ease of doing business and all, but states also have to cooperate in the, how do we do it at the ground level, the ease of doing business and several things we have to do. And private capex private sector has to tell us why they are not investing the thing. So some of the things he mentioned. So government will look into it, and then hopefully over time the private capex, because that is important if you want to have achieve the developed nation thing. Coming to specific things on agriculture, whether employment, the youth can be employed and all. But if you see the development experience of many countries, agriculture, you don't have many people because it's relatively low productive compared to manufacturing and services. So that's why the share is 17% and 46%. You can encourage some some youth to come there, but you can't have large scale youth employment in agriculture. But also government is also talking about now we should move away from production to value added, as you mentioned, value chains. For example, the post harvest activities, the wastage and other things, one has to concentrate. And also agro and food processing is another sector where you can increase the value added and also employment thing. And small and marginal farmers, we have 86% in India. So how do you have, so FPOs and cooperatives and some are helping how to aggregate their produce and get benefits from marketing. So agriculture may not be the solution for employment, but we have to increase the productivity and incomes of farmers in agriculture. Per capita, how much by 2047? There are different estimates. If you achieve $14,000, probably it may be sufficient for developed country, but depends on the exchange rate and other things, because if there is a lot of depreciation, then in dollar terms, how much it will be, we have to see. Whereas Niti Aayog said $18,000 we can achieve the per capita income. On the manufacturing and services, it's true, Calder mentioned the manufacturing is very important. Some people say that manufacturing is stagnant, but it is not stagnant actually. It is the share is stagnant. Manufacturing is growing. It is growing lower growth than the services. So it doesn't mean manufacturing is stagnant. Manufacturing value added increased 75% in the last 10 years. And then employment also increased. The share is 12% employment and 14% or 15% the GDP. So some people, if the share is stagnant, they think it is not doing any manufacturing output is not coming out. So this is because services are growing faster than the thing. So services, but it's, as I said, it's a both backward and forward because for both. Manufacturing is needed for services. If you see any manufacturing sector, there is some service component. And if you see services component, there are some hardware and other things. So both should develop, and similarly agriculture, not for employment's sake, but for their, the increase in the farmers' incomes and all, we need to productivity increase, all needed, including the prices. On the women's labor force participation rates, that's true, there is a U-shape. Till 2017-18, there is a decline, but increase is there. But if you see rural participation rates are still higher for women, but it's the urban is one of the lowest among the countries. On IMF criticism, I don't agree because IMF, if you see carefully, most of the criticism is on the base because we are keeping 2011-12 base thing, and then now we have done 22-23 base. So that criticism you don't see the next IMF report. So basically they are saying your base is still 2011-12, which is 11 years back. So that's why they're given that grade. And also the data on inflation also, you have to see the structural changes in the economy. So the recent GDP base, earlier we were not capturing the informal sector, but the recent GDP is captured much more on informal sector. So I'm sure that next year IMF thing will completely remove all these criticisms. And inflation, the food is the consumption patterns. If you see, again you are confusing between share and the absolute ones. Food share decline doesn't mean they're declining in food consumption absolute sense. So because other mobiles and others, their value is much higher, so their share is increasing. Non-food is increasing much more. But over time, when the incomes increase in developed countries or here, the share of food declines. So in fact, if you see urban areas, much more decline in food share compared to rural areas. About the RBI 6.9% growth, I think it is a reasonable thing. I think we can achieve. I am more positive. I was telling 7% growth also we can achieve. Because what happens is that last year, after tariff thing, many market economists said it will be below 6% or something. Now we have got 7.6% growth last year. Because of tariffs, they thought that 2% or 1 percentage points will go down. But so similar thing, we have inherent strengths. So if something happens, a shock, I think some others will be much more. Like US, everybody thought there will be recession, but AI investment has increased the growth and other things. So something or the other will. So I still feel 6.9 is good, and then if things are better, even 7% growth also one can do. On population, I already mentioned that. It's not a constraint that way because Japan has a population, China has, and in fact we have done almost all southern states and some of the states replacement level population. So it is not. In fact, some of the states now saying we should grow more population. We have more children. Particular southern states are saying that, but of course they're all on the delimitation and those issues. But I don't think it's a constraint. In fact, it creates more market for the for the industry and others. On security tax and capital gain, one has to discuss with the government on some of these things. FIIs, FDIs, we have been getting gross FDIs quite high. Only thing is they are repatriating, and some are also investing in other countries, some of the industrialists. So how do we get FII and FDI? But I am hopeful, this uncertainty is, of course, also because US has AI stocks much more. So some people are investing there. But as mentioned, the domestic investors are, of course, filling up our gap. But we need to get FDIs. I think many of the states now they are getting I see southern states and some other Maharashtra and all. FDI, I think next 1 or 2 years it will increase over time. So I'm more positive, and I'm most of the time I'm right on the positive side. So I mean, the inequalities and all, I agree that we have to deal that issue, but not taxing the rich, but more on employment and education side. On university and industry, I think I agree with you. I think we need much more thing, because other countries have, China, US and all, much more interaction. But one criticism of private sector is that they don't invest in R&D. Because other countries 2-3% of GDP, and most of it is private sector. Whereas in India, 0.6%, but most of the things are government. So we have to ask the private sector why they are not investing. We're only taking technologies from other countries. I know returns, they see the industry, but I think that is another issue on that. So this university and industry thing, I think the employability problem also can be solved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very elaborate answers covering almost every question properly, and so very nice of you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the vote of thanks, just as you are aware, Bharat Chamber of Commerce has a monthly newsletter, and if where the Secretariat is able to communicate all the happenings and initiatives being taken by the Chamber for the members, everything is being communicated, the views on economy and other things. So those who are not getting it by any chance, please do connect and get it. But we'll be happy to have Professor Mahendra Dev actually launch the March newsletter today as a and release it for all the members right now today. Thank you. Yeah, just thank you. So, including our friends from the media, if you are not getting a newsletter of our newsletter, please do let us know. It will be all sent to you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yes.
So we have the mementos before the vote of thanks. So I would request Shri Pachesia sir and Dr. N.G. Khaitan to kindly join to present the mementos to our guest in chief, Professor Mahendra S. Dev, the Chairman of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, Government of India. We would also like to present the Silver Peacock. Sir, if you could please do the honors. Thank you so much. May I now request our chairman of the MSME subcommittee, Shri Achyut Chandra, to kindly propose the vote of thanks and conclude today's exclusive session.
Professor Dev, Sri Pachesia, Dr. Khaitan, members of and friends. At the end of today's 125th anniversary exclusive session on India's current perspective, macro and development strategies, it is my most pleasant duty to propose a very hearty vote of thanks to our guest-in-chief, Professor S. Mahendra Dev, for addressing us today on such an important and timely subject. As India's economy navigates an increasingly complex global and domestic environment, the importance of sound macroeconomic and development strategies cannot be overstated. The interplay of growth, inflation, and external vulnerabilities and structural transformation continues to shape the policy landscape. In this context, today's deliberations have been both insightful and relevant, helping us better understand the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. I am confident that this session has provided our members with valuable perspectives to navigate uncertainty and contribute meaningfully to India's ongoing economic journey. I must thank members of the committee, members of the chamber, and our distinguished guest for making it convenient to attend today's 125th anniversary exclusive session. With these words, I would request all of you to join me in carrying a hearty vote of thanks to our guest in chief, Professor S. Mahendra Deb, with appreciative acclamation.